Chapter 2. The Manor on Outskirts Street. The sun was setting, and gray clouds were gathering, as the Mystery Misfits exited the trolley and made it to the manor. It was a large manor, with crimson walls and several other decorations that made Valor hide in Cynthia's hair, shaking like it was winter. "Well, this definitely has evil rich woman written all over it," said Mercia. "So how do we go about this?" asked Bethany. "Just follow my lead," said Mercia. "We technically don't have a warrant, so we need to play this in a certain way if we want to get anywhere." They all started slowly walking up to the door. Mercia rang the doorbell, and it gave a loud organ sound, like something from a haunted opera house. "I don't like this," said Valor. "Valor, you are literally afraid of nothing but rumors as of right now," said Mercia. "Clearly, Miss Vermiculo just has enough money that she can spend it on expensive and fancy doorbells. We have no evidence, and therefore no reason to actually believe that she's some kind of witch." Then the door opened, answered by a large, 6-foot-tall, muscular minotaur. He looked upon them, gave a puff of smoke from his nose before he asked, "Who are you?" "Okay, red flag, major red flag going up," whispered Valor. Mercia, however, was not intimidated at all. "Good evening, my good sir," she said as she reached into her dress and pulled out her credentials and badge. "I am Private Eye Princess Mercia Noelle, and these are my associates. Is Miss Fiona Vermiculo home?" The Minotaur stared for a moment before he turned his head. "Mum," he said, in a deep, bellowing British accent, "we have guests." A moment passed before a tall, dark-haired woman in a rose-red dress came to the front door. "Well, look here," she said. "Company! Please come in." The team stepped into the house, and Cynthia finally pulled Valor out of her hair. "Are you done in there?" she said. "No," said Valor. "Your hair and fur is very soft, and I would appreciate it if you put me back." Cynthia rolled her eyes at him. "Here, Valor," said Mercia. He sighed and jumped to Mercia's shoulder. They all turned their attention to the woman in the red dress. "I am Fiona Vermiculo, and this here is my butler, Stephen. And who are all of you?" "Private Eye Princess Mercia Noelle, with my associates, Bethany Wallace, descendant of the legendary William Wallace, Cynthia Knight the Wolf Girl, and my pet dragon, Valor." "A private eye," said Fiona. "Well, what brings you here on such an evening?" "Well, you see, madam, we—" "Wait," said Fiona. "Where are my manners? We have guests, and it's nearly dinner time. Please, would you care to join me?" "I don't see why not," said Mercia. "That would be very kind of you, Miss Vermiculo. Oh, please, call me Fiona." The team followed her to the dining room. The inside of the manor was far less intimidating than on the outside, but the dark red wallpaper and the strange vases filled with half-dead flowers and the low lighting was still enough to make Valor's scales crawl. He looked up at the enormous minotaur. He started shaking, but then Mercia stepped much closer to Stephen. "So," she said to him, in somewhat of a flirty tone, "I like your horns. They're so shiny." "Oh," said Stephen, "thank you. I do polish them twice a week." Soon enough, they came to the dining room. It had a large table in the center with enough chairs for 20 people and a hanging gold chandelier. "Please, do sit down," said Fiona. The team took their seats. Mercia made sure to sit farthest from Fiona, Cynthia sitting the closest and Bethany in between them, and Valor stayed on Mercia's shoulder. "This is a nice place you have here," said Bethany. "Why, thank you," said Fiona. "Stephen, please finish making dinner, and please make sure there's enough for everyone." Stephen gave a heavy nod and went into the kitchen. "Stephen is making chicken noodle soup today, but he usually makes too much, so we usually have to feed it to our dogs." "I see," said Mercia. "Valor, why don't you sit down like a gentleman?" "Fine," said Valor. Mercia scooted a chair out for him, and he hopped onto it. "Thank you, my little friend," she said. "I thought you were going to stop calling me that," he said. Marcia gave him a wink. "Taste tester," she whispered to him. "Got it," he whispered, winking back. Marcia turned her head and faced Fiona. "It will take a few moments before the soup is ready," said Fiona. "Now what business brings you here?" "Oh, of course," said Marcia. "Well, there was a disappearance." "Who's missing?" asked Fiona. "Do you know a woman by the name of Miss Kimberly Dove?" asked Marcia. "Oh, yes, actually," said Fiona. "I'm a fan of her. I've seen her in many fashion magazines. This dress is actually one she was modeling, and she was the reason I got it." "You're saying she disappeared?" "Yes," said Marcia. "We were wondering if you had any contact with her. Were you perhaps one of the last people to have seen her?" "Perhaps," said Fiona. "I wrote her a letter telling her I was a fan and I wanted to meet her. Well, if I'm being honest, I wanted to also see if she would be interested in being the face of a possible perfume brand I was thinking of investing in." "So she was here?" asked Marcia. "Yes," said Fiona, 5 days ago." "Did anything strange happen?" asked Marcia. "No," said Fiona. "Nothing I would deem strange." "Okay," said Marcia. "One more very important question, so prepare yourself for this." "What is it?" "I need you to tell me," said Marcia. "Where did you get that dress? I love that red. And is that pure silk?" "Marcia, you just bought that dress today," said Bethany. "Oh, let me have some fun," said Marcia. Just then, Stephen brought out a cart with 5 bowls of chicken soup. He laid them out in front of everyone. On the surface, the soup all looked fine and very delicious. Before Stephen could lay the silverware out and pour the glasses of water, Valor opened his mouth and reached his tongue towards the soup. "Valor," said Marcia, "where are your manners?" Valor froze and just stared for a moment. He quickly stuck his tongue into the bowl and scooped out a piece of chicken, sticking it in his mouth like a frog catching flies. "You'll have to forgive him," said Bethany. "Valor is still young, and Marcia still has to teach him some things." However, Valor knew what he was doing, and so did Marcia. Valor was tasting the soup for any poisons or magical remedies, relying on his immunity to both to keep anything from happening. He felt nothing, and it tasted like normal chicken noodle soup. He swallowed the chicken. "Seems fine," he whispered to Marcia. "Well, it looks amazing," said Marcia. "Stephen is an amazing cook. Now please, dig in," said Marcia, as she gave off a random and extremely wicked laugh in response. "Oh, I'm sorry, I just thought of something funny." They all dug into the soup. Indeed, it was delicious, and none of them were poisoned. There was a second serving. Valor again checked it for poison, and found none. After they finished, Fiona stood up and stretched. "Well done, Stephen, as always." "It was indeed excellent," said Bethany. Marcia looked out the window. It suddenly started to rain, very heavy. "Well, I must say that this has all been fantastic, but it looks like the weather is getting harsh," she said. "Perhaps we should get going?" "Yes," said Valor. "That would be great." Suddenly, a bolt of lightning flashed, thunder cried, and Valor yelled in fear. He jumped up so high that his wings took him all the way up, where he crashed into the ceiling. "Oh dear," said Fiona. "It's simply too harsh for you to leave now. I have plenty of guest rooms. Why don't you spend the night?" Valor wanted to yell out, "No!" but his face was stuck, pressed against the ceiling, muffling his words. "That would be wonderful," said Marcia. "We are incredibly grateful." "Also grateful we can spend some extra time away from that stepmother of yours," said Cynthia. "Perfect," said Fiona. "Stephen, be a gentleman and show our guests to their rooms." "Valor, come down," said Marcia. Valor finally was able to push himself off the ceiling and fell into Marcia's arms. He was going to speak out, but he couldn't get anything because Marcia grabbed him by the snout and kept him from speaking. They all rose from the table and followed Stephen. He took them upstairs to a hallway full of doors, leading to different rooms. He showed them the guest rooms and then exited. The team went into one of them, and Marcia finally let go of Valor's snout. "What are you doing?" he said. Everything has gone exactly as planned, said Marcia. Now that we're in, we can look around a little. You do realize that this place just screams evil witch with secret plans for a nefarious deed, right? Said Ed Valor. Oh, totally, said Marcia, and that's why we need to look around. Also, I thought you liked thunder and lightning, Valor. Not when I'm in a witch's house, said Valor. My nerves are seriously tense right now. So what's the plan, Princess? Asked Bethany. First, we wait a good few minutes and let things calm down, said Marcia. Then we'll split up. Beth and Cynthia, you two explore the west wing. Valor and I will explore the eastern wings. Sounds like a plan, said Bethany. Oh, brother, said Valor. We will be fine, Val, said Marcia. Trust me on this.